Since now here, welcome dear devotees to our class on the Bhagavad Gita as it is translated by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. We'll start reading from chapter 14 momentarily. Om Agyan Jnana Yakshurun Tasmai. Okay, so I'll start sharing the screen after I welcome those of you who are watching us on the Facebook, and that includes Dilip Bhai Patel Prabhu and his lovely wife, Hemlata Mataji, and Vijay Lakshmi Nair Mataji is also there. Fantastic. And this chapter is coming up on a screen close to you, if you can confirm that you can really see that.
Yeah, we got it.
Okay.
Got it, Mataji.
All right, so go ahead, please.
A nice clock too.
There is a
Chapter 14. The three modes of material nature. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "Again, I shall declare to you the supreme wisdom, the best of all knowledge, knowing which all the sages have attained the supreme perfection." Text 2. By becoming fixed in this knowledge, one can attain to the transcendental nature like my own. Thus established, one is not born at the time of creation or disturbed at the time of dissolution. Hare Krishna, Sukamra Mataji.
Thank you. Text 3. The total material substance called Brahman is the source of birth, and it is that Brahman that I impregnate, making possible the births of all living beings, O son of Bharata. Text 4. It should be understood that all species of life, O son of Kunti, are made possible by birth in this material nature, and that I am the seed-giving father. Sutapa Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji.
Yeah.
Text 5. Material nature consists of three modes: goodness, passion, and ignorance. When the eternal living entity comes in contact with nature, O mighty armed Arjuna, he becomes conditioned by these modes. Text 6. O sinless one, the mode of goodness, being purer than the others, is illuminating, and it frees from all sinful reactions. Those situated in the mode become conditioned by a sense of happiness and knowledge. Hare Krishna. Archana Mataji.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sutapa Mataji. Text 7. The mode of passion is born of unlimited desires and longings, O son of Kunti, and because of this, the embodied living entity is bound to material fruitive actions. Text 8. O son of Bharata, know that the mode of darkness, born of ignorance, is the delusion of all embodied living entities. The result of this mode are madness, indolence, and sleep, which bind the conditioned soul. Hare Krishna, Meera Mataji.
Text 9. O son of Bharata, the mode of goodness conditions one to happiness, passion conditions one to fruitive action, and ignorance, covering one's knowledge, binds one to madness. Text 10. Sometimes the mode of goodness becomes prominent, defeating the modes of passion and ignorance. O son of Bharata, sometimes the mode of passion defeats goodness and ignorance, and at other times ignorance defeats goodness and passion. In this way, there is always competition for supremacy. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Varshana
Internet.
Mataji.
Text 11. The manifestation of the thank you, Mataji, so much. The manifestation of mode of goodness can be experienced when all the gates of body are eliminated by knowledge. Text 12. O chief of Bharata, when there is an increase in the mode of passion, the symptoms of great attachment, fruitive activity, intense endeavor, and uncontrollable desire and hankering develops. Hare Krishna.
Krishna
Khyati
Mataji,
Mataji.
I will read. Khyati had to just pick a call. Text 13.
Okay.
When there is an increase in the mode of ignorance, O son of Kurus, darkness, inertia, madness, and illusion are manifest. Uh, when one dies in the mode of ignorance, O son of Kuru, uh, in mode of goodness, he attains to the pure higher planets of the great sages. Hare Krishna. Vindhyavali Mataji.
When one dies, pious action is pure and is said to be in the mode of goodness. But action done in the mode of...
Mataji, you left the text 15. 15?
I'm sorry.
No problem.
When one dies in the mode of passion, he takes birth among those engaged in fruitive activities. And when one dies in the mode of ignorance, he takes birth in the animal kingdom. Hare Krishna. Text 16. The result of pious action is pure and is said to be in the mode of goodness. But action done in the mode of passion results in misery, and action performed in the mode of ignorance results in foolishness. Hare Krishna. Sukabalam Radha Mataji.
Yeah. Text 17. From the mode of goodness, real knowledge develops. From the mode of passion, greed develops. And from the mode of ignorance, develop foolishness, madness, and illusion. Text 18. Those situated in the mode of goodness gradually go upward to the higher planets. Those in the mode of passion live on the earthly planets, and those in the abominable mode of ignorance go down to the hellish worlds. Sutta.
Thank you. Text 18. Those situated in the mode of goodness gradually go.
I already read that.
Sorry.
19.
Sorry, Mataji.
Yeah.
When text 19, when one properly sees that in all activities no other performer is at work than these modes of nature, and he knows the Supreme Lord, who is transcendental to all these modes, he attains my spiritual nature. Text 20. When the embodied being is able to transcend these three modes associated with the material body, he can become free from birth, death, old age, and their distresses, and can enjoy nectar even in this life. Hare Krishna. Archana Mataji.
Yeah. Text 21. Arjuna inquired, O my dear Lord, by which symptoms is one known who is transcendental to these three modes? What is his behavior and how does he transcend the modes of nature? Texts 22 to 25. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, O son of Pandu, he who does not hate illumination, attachment, and delusion when they are present, or long for them when they disappear, who is unwavering and undisturbed through all these reactions of the material qualities, remaining neutral and transcendental, knowing that the modes alone are active, who is situated in the self and regards alike happiness and distress, who looks upon a lump of earth, a stone, and a piece of gold with an equal eye, who is equal towards the desirable and the undesirable, who is steady, situated equally well in praise and blame, honor and dishonor, who treats alike both friend and enemy, and who has renounced all material activities. Such a person is said to have transcended the modes of nature. Hare Krishna, Meera Mataji.
Mataji, are you on mute? Meera Mataji? Varshana Mataji, maybe you want to start?
I can start. Text 26. One who engages in full devotional service, unfailing in all circumstances, at once transcends the modes of material nature and thus comes to the level of Brahman. Text 27. And I am the basis of impersonal Brahman, which is immortal, imperishable, and eternal, and is the constitutional position of the ultimate happiness. Neeral Prabhuji. Oh, it's Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna.
Previous and next. That is my sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, then comes the reflection time.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Simi Mataji. Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam Mataji.
So who's keeping, are you in a position to read today, Mataji?
Mataji, sure. I didn't want to disturb in between, so I didn't say anything.
That's fine. Next time,
Yeah, I'll add your name.
yes, Neeral Prabhu, if you can do the justice to that. Any reflections, or are you ready to go to 2.58? What do you say? So when is Ekadashi?
Saturday.
Friday.
Friday?
Saturday, Friday.
Saturday? Friday?
I thought Saturday.
Okay. Anybody has that calendar? Ekadashi calendar? Anyway, yeah. So if there are no reflections, then we'll go to chapter 2.58. Tell me.
Yes, Mataji.
Have you done this threadbare? Have you read chapter 14 threadbare? Okay, so coming up is
Mataji, can
Also,
I-
I think Garima Mataji, is she able to read? Are you able to read Mataji?
and was there
Hare
a
Krishna.
question? Was there a
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. So I'll add Garima Mataji also to the.
and was there a question there?
Yeah, Hare Krishna Mataji. Yeah, I was just going through this text 16. So here it's said like Krishna is saying that result of pious action is pure and is said to be not the 16. I forgot the name. Yeah, in text 18, it is mentioned like the people who are in the mode of passion, they live on the earthly planets. And the people who are in the mode of ignorance, they go to the hellish worlds. And people who are in the mode of goodness, they go to the higher planets of sages. So Mataji, like we are living on the planet Earth. So we are all born in the mode of passion, but we have some proportions of goodness as well as ignorance. So
Yes.
in that case, yeah. So like we have the all these the modes of material nature is there in all these living entities. So my question is like devtas and all, they must be also having all these modes, or they'll be always in mode of goodness, because they're also, I mean, all the planets from Brahma till down to the hellish worlds, they are all in the mode of material nature. So they must be also possessing all these qualities, modes of material nature, or
Yes.
is only the
Yes, it is true. It is true. And we also read that there is always a fight for supremacy between these. And so, you could be in passion a lot at certain times of the day. So one is never situated purely unless there's he or she is in a very pure high planetary system to be in goodness all the time, or in the lower planetary systems to be in ignorance all the time. Talking about the heavenly planets where the demigods are. So demigods are in the mode of goodness, but not necessarily always. And the example of that is, can you give me an example of a demigod who sometimes goes into the mode of ignorance?
Mataji, can the example be of Nalakubera and Manigriva?
Yeah, they're not demigods exactly. They are sort of lower, related to a demigod, lower level. But yeah,
Oh, okay.
definitely. But they were in heavy, they were in heavy ignorance. Yeah, someone who is in goodness, but also sometimes does Varshana.
Mataji, Shivji.
Is it Indradev?
Indradev, exactly right. Yes, you see,
The
what
Govardhan
what
puja
does,
also we have to do because of
yeah,
that.
right.
Yeah.
The Govardhan thing he does, and then
Atta.
also, he does things like, not giving proper respect to his spiritual master, and the spiritual master gets angry, so he loses all his opulence,
Yes.
and then he gets conquered by Bali Maharaj, and which is the demons conquer the heavenly planets, and so much so that Indra himself has to go and hide in the stem of a lotus to from the attacks of the demons. And then so he says, okay, I'm going to get another spiritual master, and I'm going to get him to do some yagya so that I can win back my kingdom. And so while he's doing that, the person whom he invites to do that is a priest called Tushta. And so he was supposed to pray for the victory of the demigods. But now Tushta has a soft corner for the demons also, because from his mother's side, he was related to the demons also. So while he's giving the oblations, he's offering the oblations. So he chants the mantra, and when he offers the oblations, he offers them in the name of the demigods. But every other oblation, like alternatively, he's also offering them in favor of the demons. And so when Indra sees that, he gets very angry, which is ignorance. And so he gets very angry, and he picks up the sword and he cuts off the head of the priest. So you can imagine that you're already suffering from having dishonored your spiritual master, and now second one has come to guide you, and you do that. So in that definitely is an example. Talking about this
Is that Brahma?
example of Shiva. Yes, Brahma Vimohan Leela. Yes, big time, right?
Brahma.
So he also gets under pride. And then talking about Shivji, so Shivji is a totally different. With Shivji, the situations are very different. So Shivji handles the mode of ignorance, right? So where we have the Gunavtaras, right? So Gunavtaras are incarnations of the Lord that handle these gunas, Satyam, Rajas, and Tamas, the gunas, right? And so for passion, we have Brahma, and for goodness, we have Vishnu, and then for ignorance, we have Shiv. So Shivji controls the mode of ignorance. It's not that Shivji is in the mode of ignorance, right? Shivji is a Vaishnava. So he has got to be in the mode of goodness to be praying to the Lord. However, because and that's what the Acharyas say, that because he's handling these modes of ignorance, that sometimes he exhibits some of those qualities himself as well. And so before we jump to a conclusion, they warn us that to think that Shivji is under that particular mode, this is also part of his Leela to remind people of, what the consequences of certain actions can be. For example, there was this demon who wanted to, who got a benediction from Lord Shiva, said, whoever had I touch with my hand, that person should burn to ashes. And Shivji, who's Ashutosh, he gets is satisfied easily, and so pleased easily. And so he said, yes, tathastu, it's granted to you. And so he grants him that, and then what does the demon do? He starts to put the hand on Shiva's head himself. And then Shivji starts running here and there, helter and skelter, and then he goes to Vishnu, and then Vishnu then says, okay, let me handle this guy, right? So he says to the demon, and the demon is chasing after Shivji to want to put the hand over there. So Shivji goes there. And so he turns to the demon and he says that, what, do you really believe that Vishnu gave you this power? I don't even think he's just bluffing you and he's clicking all this drama. He said, well, you want to try it, or why don't you put it on your own head? And he puts it on his own head and he's burned to ashes like that. So this is, giving benediction.
Is that Bhasmasura, Mataji?
Sorry?
Bhasmasura?
Yeah, Bhasmasura. Thank you for the name. So then, this is a classic example of giving things without thinking it through, right? So like sometimes parents also act in the mode of ignorance, right? A teenager kid wants a car and they buy the brand new car for the kid, and guess what? The car is smashed and the kid is dead because new car, new power, they are driving ruthlessly and things like that. So yeah, so they can be in the modes of ignorance also in the upper planetary system also, but in general, no. And as you go higher in the planets, even less like that.
So Mataji, majority of the demigods, they'll be in the mode of goodness only because they are in the upper planetary.
Yes. Yes.
So,
and majorly, yeah. Most of the time, yeah.
And Mataji is not like they'll not be transcendental because they are also the devotees of the Lord. So they'll not be in that mode.
They will be, yes, they will be. While you're doing devotional service, you will be in that mode, yes, but they are not doing necessarily devotional service all the time. right? But they do more than us, and they are more aware of Lord in their day-to-day transactions than we are. Like they are more Krishna conscious than we are. And of course, people down below in the lower planets are not Krishna conscious at all. At all. They just enjoy, they got lots of goodies. It's not that the lower planetary systems are necessarily the hellish planets. The opulence in the lower planetary systems is much better actually than the opulence in the higher planetary systems. They have more opulence than the demigods. The starking difference there is the demigods are aware of Krishna, and everything that they enjoy, they are keeping Krishna in mind. Whereas those in the lower planetary systems have no awareness of God. They're atheists. They don't, believe in God at all.
So Mataji, in lower planetary systems also, like in hellish worlds, so there also people, they'll be in the mode of ignorance majorly and less of mode of passion and goodness, or they're also all these modes, they will fight for supremacy.
Yes,
Like,
yes, yes, yeah. But the chances will be very rare. Right? I mean, they can do good to each other, right?
yeah.
Atheists do good to each other, right? They just don't believe in God, right? And they have, because of the karmic reactions, they have accumulated a lot of, they have done some good. So it'll be returned back to them, right? So they gave some money for setting up some, soup kitchen or something like that. And then they go and they get the reactions for that.
Okay, Mataji.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Mataji, the other day you have mentioned one thing, that good mode of goodness sometimes binds you. What exactly means? Means the pride will come
Yes.
if you will continually. Oh, okay.
It binds you to the thought that I'm good. Right? I'm good and that one is bad. Right? So we can get into a condescending attitude like, oh, you know what, that person eats onion and I don't eat onion. I'm better than that person, right? Like that. So then um, as you progress in devotional service, you go higher and reach higher and higher, to the level where when you see somebody eating onion, then you know what the effects of that is going to be. You feel sorry for them and you try to preach to them to give up the habit and tell them about the consequences of doing these kind of actions like that.
So Mataji,
Thank you,
when,
Mataji.
yeah, sorry, Mataji.
No, it's okay. Go ahead.
So Mataji, like when we are progressing, I mean, when we are advancing in devotional service, so all these modes of material nature, right, from ignorance to passion to goodness, and then ultimately it will lead to transcendental mode, right? Hello?
Say that part. I didn't get your question. So when you're progressing in devotional service, then
Like when we progress in devotional service, so like the modes of material nature which are acting on us, like from the ignorance it will progress to passion, and then from passion to sattva, like goodness, mode of goodness, and then finally it will culminate in transcendental mode.
not necessarily like that. It's not that we are born in complete ignorance, right? A person has got samskaras, right? So you bring some goodness, some thoughts of goodness in your samskaras from the previous birth, right? So it'll be a mix always, and then depending on time, place, circumstances, what you ate, what you are associating with, and things like that, that you will either win. One of the modes of the material nature will win at a certain point in time, right? And so what's happening as you progress in devotional service is that base modes, the lower modes of ignorance, the lower modes of material nature will fade away. So a person who's pursuing Krishna consciousness, there for many years, there'll be less chances that that person will like to sleep when it's Mangal Arati time, right? Because they are now in that mode. They want to do devotional service. That's their prime focus. So even if it's cold, even if it is hot, they will get up and they'll do, right? So just
So
as
that was, yeah, Mataji. So like if we are getting up early in the morning, like in Brahma Muhurat, so that will be in the mode of goodness, right? It will not be in passion or ignorance.
yes, it's not passion or ignorance, yeah. And then when you're getting,
Yeah.
so now people can get up in the mode of, like, I remember when my daughter was going to high school, she said that she had one of her high school mates was very good at swimming, and she was planning to swim for the Olympics. And so she would get up. So her mom would get up and drop her off at 4 o'clock in the morning at a swimming pool where she would practice swimming for a couple of hours. and then get dressed, ready, and come to school. So later on in my life, I was just recalling when I came across Bhagavad Gita. So this situation came into my mind again, and I remember, and I was just thinking that she was also getting up in Brahma Muhurta, right? So getting up the Muhurta, but what is there? What was the thoughts in her mind? Thoughts of passion. I want to win the Olympic. See, so although the morning hours, Brahma Muhurta, are conducive for pursuing devotional service, because in general there is a mode of goodness more prominent, but still as an individual entity, you could go into any of the modes even at that time, like that. And so it's entirely up to you from that, giving that the opportunities that you are provided, by Mother Nature at that time of the day to pursue devotional service. It's entirely up to you whether you want to make use of those opportunities and rise higher to a transcendental plane, or you want to stay where you are in passion or in ignorance, like that. I mean, I know I've known of people who just go to the bed, who just go to bed to snuggle in the bed. It's a very cold thing. Let me take off my sweater so that I feel a little cold. Then let me snuggle under the comforter. And what were you doing? Oh, nothing. I was just lying in the bed. Right? So people can do that. You can get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and open that window. And when it gets cold, you can still continue to snuggle in your bed and enjoy. So it is Brahma Muhurta, but what are you doing? You see? But the ambience there is that if you were to start chanting, then your chanting is going to be very good at that time, because disturbances are less. Sun's magnetism has not yet started to hit us, and we can rise ourselves higher to that mode. So
Hare
yeah.
Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
You said if you start chanting in early morning Brahma Muhurat. So somebody told me that right now, of course, it's winter, it's cold, but she told me that, if you can even go outside in the backyard and start chanting, is it better to chant outside early in the morning?
It depends again, if I were to say chant outside early in the morning and one of you goes out, then you're going to sue me. Because it depends on, what the weather are. If you're in India, there can be, or any of the other tropical countries, you could have the mosquitoes can come and bite you. The idea is that you should chant in a place wherever it is comfortable for your body, that your body doesn't get disturbed a lot. Because if you go out in the garden, some people just get disturbed by the twitter of the birds, and the mind gets distracted there. So whatever works best for you, you go and do that. When it comes to chanting, I can tell you about Satyuga and things like that, and especially for chanting of Gayatri mantra. So they say for Gayatri mantra, you should chant it in a pure place, right? Which means you won't chant Gayatri mantra in the bathroom, right? Find a neat and clean place in your home, and you sit down on a clean asana and you chant your Gayatris there. However, for Gayatri, they said Gayatri is even better if you chant the Gayatris when you're standing in the water. Even better when you're chanting it when you're underneath the water. So in Satyuga, where people had a lot of control and more power over the bodies, there were people who would be underwater for thousands of years, underneath the water, chanting. But I have to tell you this, that the modes of material nature, they fight, and so we have to be very, very careful of, careful and not lose to the mode of ignorance. Because Subari Muni, he was standing underneath the water for 10,000 years. And underneath the water, he sees two fishes, mating. And he immediately goes into the mode of ignorance, surfaces and wants to get married. And not to just one person, he wants several wives. So you see that supremacy and the fight for supremacy and the chance to fall down are very high. So when you're pursuing devotional service, you are walking on a razor sharp edge.
Right.
Yeah. And yeah.
I wake up at 3:30, 4 o'clock, Mataji, for that Philadelphia class. So half an hour I just chant. And that's a very good thing for me, chanting at Brahma Muhurta and then attending the class.
There you go.
That's, they time in 3 hours, they are ahead of us. So Their time is 7:50 and mine is 4:50. So before that chanting, that was really good. I enjoy that.
So Mataji, again, one question in this particular regard only. So when we are advancing in devotional service, it is said like in in this chapter 14 only, Krishna is saying you can transcend the modes of material nature by doing devotional service, unfailing in all the circumstances.
Mm.
So is it necessary for us to like um, slowly and slowly progress in all the modes? Like if we are in passion, we have to first go to the mode of sattva, which is mode of goodness, and then we'll go to the higher mode, which is the vishuddha sattva, transcendental mode. Or it'll happen, like that only. If we if we are doing devotional service, we can elevate ourselves to the transcendental mode.
Yeah.
So that was my
Yeah. So if you were to think that the ground floor is the mode of ignorance and the fifth floor is the mode of passion, remember, okay, I'm going to ask you. And the 10th floor is the mode of goodness, and the 15th floor is the mode of transcendence. Okay. Now, a person is on the ground floor and he meets a book distributor who gives him a Bhagavad Gita, gives him a cookie prasadam. He eats it and he says, "Do you believe in the power of prayers?" He said, "No." Okay, mode of ignorance. Then the person asks, like, "Do you like mantras?" Yes. Okay, here's a mantra. You speak, I'll speak, you repeat after me. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And so the person repeats. From where does he go? From mode of ignorance to
15th floor.
Goodness.
Oh no,
15th.
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 10th.
You see? Okay. He's in the transcendental mode because he's chanting the names of the Lord, right? Now, if you like that route, you can pursue that route. You can come back down to the ground floor, and every time, you'll have to climb all those stairs back up to go to the um, mode of transcendental,
Transcendental.
right? But what's going to happen is that as you continue to do that, if you continue to meet book distributors on the ground floor and you keep on eating prasadam, you keep on doing little by little, what's going to happen is that you will be bumped up from the first floor, you will go to the fifth. Like that, so your consciousness around you will improve. So even though whether you're doing it or not, that is the power of the holy name of the Lord, that you'll get bumped up. So if you are in sattvam yat brahma darshanam, they say, right, when you're mode of goodness, you have to reach that level there, right, and be there majorly in that state. Because if I say I'm going to be a lazy bum, I'm going to stay in the mode of ignorance, what are the chances that you'll ever reach the 15th floor, right? Very rare. So that's why they say you better to go into the mode of goodness. And that's why I say don't eat this thing because that puts you in the mode of passion. Don't eat that because it puts you in the mode of ignorance. Don't do this, don't do that. And so with all these regulative principles that we are, they're trying to make sure that you stay on a higher plane, on the 10th floor, so that it's easy for you to go to the 15th very quickly, right? Like that. And if my apartment is on 10th floor, then if I ever have to come back, I'll come back to my apartment 10th floor, right? As compared to the bum on the street, who has to come down all the way like that. So so it's not that people from one mode cannot go to the higher mode. They can by connecting to Krishna. And but the chances of there to stay in that mode, right? To be able to stay in that mode, like unless you don't know how to fly. Unless you don't know how to fly, if I jump off a chair, what's going to happen? I'll just fall down, right? So if I need to reach higher, I need to know how to fly. And if you know how to fly, then if you jump out of the chair, you can stay in the air because you know how to fly. And that is devotional service, Those are the activities, the devotional, the things that you do, the 9 items of devotional service that you perform, right? Processes, and you take to any of the processes or all of the processes that helps you stay afloat in your devotional service. Does that help you, Archana Mataji?
Yeah, Mataji. Thank you so much for such a great explanation, Mataji, with the exciting examples also. So, Mataji, like if we are in mode of goodness, then it's easy to go towards the transcendental mode.
Yes. Yes.
try to be in the mode of goodness only in majority, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's why all these the regulations also, it not eating onion, garlic, meat eating, and all. So these will progress us towards the mode of goodness only, right? All the
Yes.
four
Yes.
principles.
Yeah, absolutely.
Bhagavad.
Exactly. And
Okay,
that's why they say you get up in the morning and you do. Why? Because in the ambience, there is mode of goodness, right? So the mode of material nature is more prominent. The goodness is more prominent in the morning. So if you're awake and are getting affected by that, you'll get affected by the mode of goodness, right? And that's why they say you should sleep in the evening. When it is dark, they say you go to sleep. If you stay longer, then bad thoughts will come into your mind and you'll be affected by the mode of ignorance. So it's better to just sleep at that time so that you can't do anything. So yes, this early to bed, early to rise is a good idea.
But for me, if I sleep early, Mataji, I'll get up at 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock.
And that's fine. Yeah, 2 o'clock is fine. Prabhupada used to get up at 2 o'clock and he would start reading or actually translating. Yeah. Yeah.
Very nice example, Mataji. We have to remember, like, according
This
to the flow,
whole
like
thing is
5th,
very good,
10th,
very good example, Mataji.
and then 15th.
Yeah. Those force example is very good.
Right. Comes from
I could
Prabhupada,
understand
I think.
nicely.
All right. Thank you. Goes to Prabhupada. And then, okay, so more. You were saying you didn't have any questions. Now it's 7:45 on the clock.
Yeah, can we do 258?
So whose turn is it to read 258?
I don't know.
Sini Mataji.
Sini Mataji, probably. Or Sulekha Mataji, I don't know.
Sulekha is also here? All right.
Yes, Mataji, I can read. I can try to read.
Try to read. Can read. Okay.
Yada sahayate chaya kurmo kayam yada samharte kayam
Chaya.
kurmo.
The C, Sulekha is always a cha. In Sanskrit, the C is never a K. When you see a C there, so it will always be cha. Chayam.
Yada samharte chayam.
What is this
kurmo
chayam? Chai. Tea. I'm just kidding.
Is it really tea?
No, I'm just kidding.
Also, I think.
Also.
Cha means and. Also, I am means he. Chayam.
Yeah.
So, cha.
Kurmo naganiva sarvasa.
Yeah, so here, Sulekha Mataji, there are two words which are separated by apostrophe. So you will assume as if the apostrophe doesn't exist and you will recite it as one full word, right? So you will go and take this kurmo from the first and you'll go, ignore the apostrophe and take the next word also. Like from the next word, the first.
Kurmo ganiva. Kurmo ganiva.
Yeah, kurmo. Right? Yeah, that's
Kurmo
ganiva. Yeah, ganiva.
Kurmo ganiva sarvasa indriyani tribhas tasya pranya pratihita. Okay, good. I'm sorry, Mataji. Please forgive me for my wrong reading.
It is okay to read wrong because then you get a chance to hear the right pronunciation. So this is also this word you'll see coming along many times. So instead Indriyani, and then the next one picks up this Indriyani, Indriyarthebhyas. Indriyani, Indriyarthebhyas. Tasya pragya, yatasya pragya. Pragya Pratishtita. Because you know the Hindi, the Hindi scripture, so you should.
Yeah, normally I try to read the Hindi, Sanskrit language, but today I tried to read the English.
Yes.
It was pretty hard.
It's pretty hard. So, and then when it is hard for you, you always rely on your knowledge of the scripture, of the script of, the Hindi, the Sanskrit script. Okay, good. Yeah. Yeah. That's fine.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Mataji, can you pronounce this word again? Kurmonganeva?
Yeah. So Kurmonganiva. Yeah. Kurmonganiva sarvashaha yada samharate jayam. Kurmonganiva sarvashaha indriyani
indriyartebhyas tasya pragya pratishtita.
Very nice.
Correct?
There you go.
Thank you.
Whose turn is it to give us the synonyms?
I think Simmi Mataji didn't get a turn to read.
Simmi Mataji.
Okay. Should I do the synonyms?
Yes, please.
Okay. Yada, when. Samharte, winds up. Cha, also. Ayam, he. Kurmaha, tortoise. Angani, limbs. Eva, like. Sarvasaha, altogether. Indriyani, senses. Indriya are arthebhaya, from the sense objects. Tasya, his. Harajana, consciousness. Parthishta, fixed. Translation: one who is able to withdraw his senses from sense objects, as the tortoise draws his limbs within the shell, is firmly fixed in perfect consciousness. I think it's Khyati Mataji or Garima Mataji. Garima Mataji.
Do I see her on the screen? Yeah, I don't think so. She's there, so I'll read.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Purport. The test of a yogi, devotee, or self-realized soul is that he is able to control the senses according to his plan. Most people, however, are servants of the senses and are thus directed by the dictation of the senses. That is the answer to the question as to how the yogi is situated. The senses are compared to venomous serpents. They want to act very loosely and without restriction. The yogi or the devotee must be strong to control the serpents, like a snake charmer. Vindhyavali Mataji, you can read from next. Mataji, you're reading on mute. Can you unmute yourself?
Yeah. He never allows them to act independently. There are many injunctions in the revealed scriptures. Some of them are do not, and some of them are do's. Unless one is able to follow the do's and the do nots, restricting oneself from sense enjoyment, it is not possible to be firmly fixed in Krishna consciousness. The best example set herein is the tortoise. The tortoise can at any moment wind up its senses and exhibit them again to any time for particular purposes. Similarly, the senses of the Krishna consciousness persons are used only for some particular purpose in the sense of the Lord and are withdrawn otherwise. Arjuna is being taught here to use his senses for the service of the Lord instead of for his own satisfaction. Keeping the senses always in the service of the Lord is the example set by the analogy of the tortoise who keeps the senses within. Hare Krishna. Supam Mataji.
I think it's done. Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay, so we'll take reflection for a few minutes.
Mataji, I really like the point. You see, senses are compared to the venomous serpents. they are really venomous. You see, any time, any thought can come and really capture us, our mind, and we go behind that. And that is the time I mean, it is very important to be conscious of our senses to control the mind's dictations. Hare Krishna.
Yes. And then in the beginning of the chapter, in the beginning of the purport, Prabhupada was talking about that. He talks about devotees and the self-realized souls, and he was saying that they are able to control the senses according to their plan. According to
Yeah.
their plan, right? Can you give me an example of people whose plans got thwarted?
Vishwamitra.
There you go. Right. So when you're making your plans, sometimes can get thwarted here and there because of some residual impressions that you have in your mind, some residual desires that you have in your mind. And it's very interesting. I was long time ago, almost 15 years ago, when I used to watch movies. I was watching this movie on Vishwamitra, which was made by some in south of India. Somebody had made that. So there was very beautiful. There was a very beautiful South Indian actress that they had brought in the role of Menaka, right? It was,
Menika.
right. So yeah. So in the role of Menaka, she was very, very beautiful. I just can't even describe her beauty. And I was just thinking that how aptly the person who is doing the casting, what a perfect person she chose for this role. And then of course there is Vishwamitra, and then Vishwamitra starts to live with her, and they have a daughter, Shakuntala, and then Indra says, come back, and then she says, I'm going back. And so that's when Vishwamitra gets the jolt that what all was going on, and he gets angry. So there were some dialogues that he was speaking in the movie, but the one that stuck me a lot was when he said, don't think that it was because of your beauty that I was I was waylaid and I left. He said it was my own desires that led me to this. And which means that if you have a desire to enjoy, then you don't need a menaka, actually. Anyone will do. So this is something very important that we have to understand, that these senses that we have are like venomous serpents. And like I was saying on Sunday when we did this, and I think we might end up doing this further tomorrow because we don't have that much of time today left to go into all the nitty-gritties and the details. It's a very, very powerful verse from Bhagavad Gita, and a lot of applications for us in this verse. And so he says that so here he's saying that they are like venomous serpents. And I was telling you about our senses look for, what do they look for?
Objects, Mataji.
Sense objects, exactly.
Sense objects.
So what do you think the eyes look for?
Beauty.
Beauty.
Any form.
Funny form, right? Yeah. What do the ears look for?
Sound.
Some nice music, right? Some jingle there, some advertisement jingle, like that. And then what does the skin look for?
Touch.
The touch, right? Yeah. So it was so amazing that while I was reading all that, and when Prabhupada said that it's the sense of touch, the skin is hankering for sense of touch, then I realized that, whenever we see a little baby, nice, cute little baby, what do? We pick up the baby and then we touch our cheek to the baby's cheek, right? And we say we're loving the baby, but who's getting the enjoyment? Yes, who feels the soft and the cuddly thing? We feel it. It was such an eye opener for me that even such a simple act of taking a baby and cuddling is for our own sense enjoyment, because the baby doesn't like it. Baby's skin is so soft. We are rubbing our coarse skin against the baby's skin. The baby doesn't like it. Sometimes they cry. So this is the extent.
Yeah, Motherji, the other day when Anya was reciting the shlokas uh, here, and I really felt like, you see, hugging her. So I was just doing it to myself instead of, you see, she's not there, and I'm just hugging myself. And you see, it's so nice, you see. I mean, I'm getting the pleasure. Not she doesn't even know that somebody is hugging her. So, but look at this, you see, I just realized when you said that we get the pleasure.
Yeah, we are pleasure seekers, but to hug a devotee is always allowed within certain rules and regulations. So hugging Anya is okay. I was just talking about from pure sensual, pure sensual things.
Yes.
And Vachika Prabhu tells such a nice story, and I think I'll stop here today with that story. I'll end with that story because I have a real hard stop at 8 o'clock. And so Vachika Prabhu tells the story of a man and how your mind can take you to various places, which was one of the senses. The sixth sense is the mind, but it works in a nice teamwork with all the other senses. It's a nice team that they have. And so he was talking about that the man is sitting, there's a train, you're going in a train, and then there's a man that is sitting in the train, and then suddenly the train goes through a tunnel, so everything becomes dark, and then his hand goes and touches somebody else's hand, and then he likes that feeling, and he's saying like, oh wow, look at this, that lady, my hand is touching that lady, and look at that lady, she's not removing her hand away. This means she likes me, really, she must be loving me. And so she said, okay, fine, as soon as the light comes out, I will propose to her, and then I'll take her to my parents, and my parents will think like, oh my goodness, he was such a loser, but look at the beauty he brought home. I mean, he must be having something really. And then the train goes out of the tunnel, and he turns to look at the lady, and it's a man with a hairy arm. And then he's like, ah! So this is what your sense of touch can do to you. Your mind can carry you away to various different places. Yeah, I always laugh at that example that he gives, but the mind can do so many things to you, and it works in good teamwork. At work, you're always looking
Hare
for
Krishna.
teamwork. Yeah.
Yes, Hare Krishna Mataji. There's one Prabhuji, whenever he chants, he puts the earplugs in his ears so that he can concentrate well. So I was really impressed by that way of chanting.
Yes, and what is
So
he
that
doing?
he can
Kurmangi
chanting.
Niva. Like a tortoise, he's withdrawing his senses.
Yeah.
Sense of ear, which is always going out. So, these senses, this is an organ, right? This is an organ. The ear is the organ of the sense, but the sense itself is something subtle. The sense of hearing, which goes out towards sound and touches the sound. Similarly, eyes are an organ, but the sight itself, what does sight do? Right? So the sight goes and touches an object, touches a figure, and then gathers the information, gives it to the organ who sends it back. This is just an organ there in front of you. So these organs are there through which the senses, which are the senses in the 11th chapter of Bhagavatam and Canto, you know that they go and they are sticky, they will stick. That's why they say, I could not take my eyes off her or eyes off him. What is the meaning of you can't take your eyes? Is something sticky there? Yes, it sticks. So I'm looking at Sukomal Radhe. I want to just look at her, and then I look at Archana, but then again my eyes come back. I look at Archana, again my eyes come back. There is some sticky thing there going on. So this is, it is a dangerous world. These senses are really like serpents. We'll continue this chapter with this sloka tomorrow. Vancha kalpatarubhyacha kripa sindhyana pavnebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah gopremanande. Sorry, I had to cut it short like that. But yeah.
Thank you very much.
You are going to tell me about the settings for that Sanskrit verses.
Can I do that later, Mataji? I have a
Yeah.
I'll do that offline. Okay, maybe later.
I like that first floor